With the surgery behind us and recovery ahead, Lauren and I made a decision.
Erica, how you feeling?
Really good.
What'd you dream about?
We're sailing with a group of friends.
Never stop sailing.
He's staying put in New Zealand and pushing forward with getting our boat ready for the water. What you're about to see represents just 1 week of a very ambitious timeline, but this is really the beginning of a multi-episode journey. The galley remodel, custom fiberglass work, battery relocation. These are big projects that don't just happen overnight. Some will span several episodes as we show you the real process, the setbacks, the problem solving, and the satisfaction of doing it all yourself. Lauren's determined to have everything ready for when I get back on my feet and rejoin him.
Here's where I'm at. I am back to work on the forms for the boxes. There's essentially 3 boxes. The cooler box, the barbecue box, that's this one. That's the space for the barbecue and like a front hatch to open. That's the front hatch. Then over here, I think I maybe said this, but this guy is the ice box. I don't know if I've showed that it was painted red. I primed it 3 times, sanding in between, and then I painted it with a gloss paint. And it's in pretty good shape. Like, it is far from perfect, but this was my learning box. You know, like this one's the ice box. It's hardly ever going to be seen. It doesn't have to be perfect. I can't really spend any more time getting it perfect. So I'm just going to get this one done. I may have to spend a little extra time on the finished product, doing some wet sanding and making it really nice, but this one's good to go. I've started on the PVA mold release on this, and I got 1 coat. In the next hour I'll put on a second, and then before the evening I'll put on a third, which means tomorrow I think I can start with gel coat and fiberglass. It's way more work than I thought it was going to be. Way more work. As most things often are. So that's where I'm at, that's what's happening. So I gotta get back to work, okay? So that's the mold for our new freezer that I've been slaving away on, along with 2 other outside boxes, and it still needs some final touches before I can start the fiberglass work. And since this one is not going to be nearly as visible as the other 2 outside ones, it seems like the best box to start with, since I've never done a big fiberglass project like this, and there's sure to be plenty of mistakes and learning pains. But before we dive into that, we need to back up just a little bit. We've shown you where the new freezer is going to go, but we haven't shown you the process to make the transformation happen. This storage bin under our salon couch has been where we keep some of our dry foods, rice, pasta, canned goods, but we realized we don't need all this space for food storage anymore, and stealing a little bit from this location is actually perfect for a freezer. There's better access, better insulation possibilities, and making it a chest style freezer will mean that it is naturally more efficient, rather than spilling all that nice cold air every time we open it, like what happens on a typical door style freezer or fridge. Well, I think you can hear it is raining again. I don't know how loud it's going to be. I guess it's not that bad. I'm stuck inside again. This weather is nuts. I can't believe how wet this country has been right now. It does make me nervous, however, being able to finish some of the work that is weather dependent. I just cannot be mixing up glues and resins and whatnot when the humidity is 95%. It just doesn't work. So I'm back to inside projects, and thankfully today I can get the batteries at least placed and begin that process, even though I can't wire them really because I can't get into the engine compartment and do a lot of the work in there, but I can at least get them placed and get most of that done. So that's the name of the game today, I guess. Starting to run out of inside projects, if I'm honest. Whew. Now, I know we're going back and forth a lot with what we're showing you, and I apologize for that. But so much of this work requires multiple phases and steps. And since the weather is being uncooperative for a good portion of it, I'm having to bounce between projects, working on whatever conditions allow me to. And a few episodes back, we showed you where we are relocating the batteries to, and had to once again cut into the boat to make this happen. But before I can actually move the batteries to their new location, there's a lot of prep work that needs to happen first. Right on. I am really stoked with how this turned out, to be honest. It is, This is such a great spot for it, and I've done 2 different layers or levels. As you can see, this is the battery space, and then this is the upper space for storage. And so it took a lot of work getting all the cuts right, but and especially getting all the old fiberglass out was probably the worst of it, and the globs of glue that they had used. So the next thing is I'm going to put a layer of glass down, fiberglass a layer or 2. I don't know why exactly, it's just what I do, I guess. And it's gonna make it super nice and smooth in here, and a good place then for me to gel coat on top of. And I know this sounds crazy, but it's what Fontaine Pajot has done throughout the rest of the bilges. They put a layer of gel coat down so it's nice and hard and durable and easy to clean. And I'm going to do the same thing in here, because this is not only for the batteries, but also for storage. We keep sails in here or whatever. This is a pretty nice place to keep like long-term storage. So I want it to be nice. So I'm going to do it now rather than any other time, and make it nice. And then I'm going to get the batteries mounted. And so it's just like still at work, still banging out the projects. I often like to go that extra mile to not only make it practical, but also make it look good as well. This is the kind of step that separates a functional installation from a professional one, and I definitely strive to create a very professional finish with proper ventilation, neat, clean cable runs, and generally a well-organized end product, no matter what the job. The goal here is a battery access that's safe, efficient, and also aesthetically pleasing as well. When you're living in a small space, things often need to serve multiple purposes, like this space also being general storage as well as a good home for our battery bank. Woo! Oh my gosh. Okay. Boy, am I glad I started there on that piece and not anywhere else, because I got a lot to learn. I need to be wearing gloves. I definitely need an actual respirator like this, not just a face mask, but like a respirator. It is so... There's so many fumes. It even hurt my eyes. I think even a full face might, in a tight space like that, I think a full face is needed. But all the rest I have to do, I think, is on the outside of the boat. Like I can do it down in my little garage. So, yeah. And start with small pieces. Getting those big pieces to lay out nice and flat is tough. There's got to be a trick to that. I'm sure I'll learn it, but respirator, gloves, it stinks. Glad I started there. Woo! Okay, so the battery area is all finished. I got the gel coat done, and I'm glad I started there. I guess I learned a little bit, but gained some confidence, and I am now ready to do this guy. This is my first of 3 boxes, right? So this is the tub for the freezer, and I have taken it as far as I possibly can. I added 3 layers of PVA release, and that will keep the fiberglass and the gel coat and everything from sticking to the mold, we hope. That's the plan. It is definitely not perfect. There are definitely surface imperfections, but I cannot spend any more time on this. This is just going to be a learning. This is just for learning, really. I'm still going to use it. I'm going to have to polish it quite a bit once it comes out. And then I'm going to implement what I've learned on the 2 other boxes that are going to be seen every day and out, and hopefully they come out a ton nicer and I don't have to do nearly as much work in the end. So that's the plan. Here we go.
Man, I was so relieved to finally be doing something other than prep work. And the steps are basically the same for this as it will be for all the future fiberglass projects. First is the mold prep, definitely the longest and hardest of all the steps. Then it's a thick layer of gel coat, which is what you see going on here. And once that's dried enough to move to the next step, it's on to laying the fiberglass. So this is the beginning of the end for this piece, but also kind of the beginning of the beginning for a whole lot of fiberglass work.
All right, well, I'm so glad to see it white now. I'm sick and tired of that red. So we'll give that 24 hours and I'll check to see if there's any thin spots, probably make up a real small batch and just kind of go over and see if there's any thin spots. But generally that's it. And then fiberglass on top of that. We'll do, I think, 3 to 4 layers of fiberglass on top of that. Nice and thick stuff. And then hopefully it pops out of the mold. That's the next big test. Let's see how Erica's doing, huh? Yay! There's my girl.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Good.
Yeah, pretty good overall, I think.
You are such a champ, man. You are such a champ. Let's see it. Whoa. That's crazy. It's so straight. You're like a ballerina. Oh.
Well, maybe I will be able to dance again.
I hope so, honey.
Yeah, me too.
So you don't even know what the incision looks like?
No.
No.
No,
Or how big
no.
it is or anything?
No.
How you feeling
So,
overall? How much are you in
Feeling
pain?
pretty okay, yeah. I mean, I have some drugs in me, so I'm feeling good.
I have some drugs. They hooked you up?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to try to, like, not depend on them, obviously. I'm going to wean myself off as quickly as I can.
Yeah.
But, yeah. It was painful once we got home a little bit. So.
Oh, wow, you're a champ. You're doing so much better than I did when I had my shoulder done. I was like completely out of it, yeah.
But it was crazy, hun.
Oh.
I was sailing. Like, I had a sailing dream.
I was sailing. I have an unstable connection. I'll get on Wi-Fi for a better call connection. Okay, baby. Love you. Proud of you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, that's good. She's doing better. She's feeling better. I wish I could be there with her for sure. I gotta get back to work, okay? Well, bummer. The saga continues with this thing. I think it's jinxed. Either that or I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. One of the two. But I don't know if you can tell, but I'll get a close-up on this. Something is happening to the surface here. There's like some sort of poor reaction, and I don't know what to do differently. It may be because it's pretty humid, it's actually sprinkling a little bit, and I know that you're not really supposed to do this in super humid weather. So maybe that's it, but certainly it is not as it's supposed to be. And I'm definitely getting nervous for the other pieces that have to come out super nice. Like, I can't go through this rigmarole on the next 3 boxes. I just don't have the time, the energy, the patience, or the money. So yeah, something is happening here. So I think I'm going to turn to the internet and see if I can find out what is going on. It is not good though.
So this is one of those rare cases where the internet really couldn't help with too many answers. But either way, there was definitely some sort of chemical reaction between my base underlayment and the gel coat. Either way, I was too far down this road to do anything much about it at this point, so I made the call to just trudge forward.
All right, the time has come. The moment of truth is here, and we're going to start laying fiberglass down. I've got a couple pieces cut, ready to go on top of this, kind of form-fitting, and I'm a little nervous. There's nothing, I mean, what's done is done at this point, and the second coat of gel coat certainly made things better, but I know that the surface, the inside surface, which will be the finished surface, is not perfect. So at this point, it's just, you know, finish the glass, finish the box, and then we'll deal with, you know, making it pretty, because that's all it is aesthetics, you know, so we'll make it really pretty in the end. So here we go. Got everything measured out. There you go. That's the MEKP is what it is. Don't ask me what it is. It's or what it stands for, but it is the hardener for the resin. So go ahead and mix that up and start applying. Okay, here we go. Woo!
So I've done fiberglass work before, but definitely not to this scale. So there's a lot more on the table here and a lot more that could go wrong. And despite these early problems with this first mold, I still do feel confident that I've done enough research, watched enough videos, and asked enough questions of others to get this mostly right. And so, well, shit, here goes nothing. So the first step is to apply the resin and then the cloth. For those wanting to try this at home, here's the basic process. You start with the mold, add release agent so the fiberglass won't stick permanently. Then comes the gel coat for that super smooth finish that we're all looking for, followed by the fiberglass cloth layers. Each piece of cloth gets saturated with resin using a brush or roller, working out any tiny air bubbles as you go. The key is getting the resin to cloth ratio right and working systematically. I really took my time on this one to make sure it was done right, and that meant it took me, well, all the way into the night.
Woo! Long day. That's all right. 6:17, 6:18 now. It's all right. It means it's dinner time. I had a good day. Fiberglass is on. Definitely stoked on that for sure. It's taken a while to get to this point. Hopefully it'll be smoothish sailing from here on out. All right. Good night, everybody.
You can see the work stretching from daylight into darkness and absolutely continuing into the next day. And because of potential heat buildup during the curing process, layers cannot be too thick and need to cure before you can add the next layer set. But once one is cured, the next may start, and you just keep building until you reach the thickness you need for strength and durability.
Well, it's all laid up, and then you roll over it with this and take out all the air bubbles. I don't know why, but it's kind of my favorite part. I like doing this. I don't know why. It is a lot of work to get all of the layers to join together and to get out all the air bubbles. It's a lot. There's a good one. This is just getting laughable at this point. Yet another super rainy day. I so badly wanted to get back to New Zealand before it started getting cold and get the fiberglass work done, and then I could spend the next few weeks as it started getting more and more into winter down here, doing the electrical and doing all this other stuff that really isn't, temperature critical. And it is not played out like that. So to say that things are not going as planned is like an understatement. And then this happening with Erica, man, it's like, such a bummer. We're both just struggling with being apart and what to do next and keeping the channel alive and like keeping her as happy as possible, she's like I am. We're just both very active doing people, and to be couch bound and not walking, not moving around and doing anything for weeks on end and it's only been a few days since the surgery, so she's got a long road to go. And I'm not struggling without her, but man, I miss her. Like, it's just, this is something, we're partners in this, It's so weird to be on this boat alone that we have spent so much time together, like intense amount of time together as a couple. So I guess I just wanted to clue you guys in as to like what's going on, and how I'm feeling, and I guess how we're feeling. And I'm really understating it because I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I just want to kind of let you guys know what's going on. I mean, I'm still working away and I have no real other choice. I got to get the boat done. We got to get it in the water and get it out of New Zealand really, before winter hits hard, and get to Fiji. And so I'm taking on crew. I reached out to Patreons to give them the first chance, and a bunch of them have lit up and said that there's a lot of good potential. I've got quite a few people that are really interested in it. So I'm going to take on Patreons. It's another reason to become a patron if you aren't already. Although this is, I know, obviously a very unique situation. I can't promise that we'd offer this, but just an example, go to Patreons first for all the cool stuff we can offer when they do happen. So I'm going to carry on banging out the projects. I mean, really making a mess today because it's raining. I'm inside and I'm just doing the final electrical for the stove, and the corner cabinet is getting lights that turn on when you open the door. Neat stuff. So there is positive things happening. It's just not as I'd planned, but that's just the way life goes. So we should carry on. So let's go. This was a nervous time for me. It has certainly gotten heavier. Not only was I about to discover what shape the final gel coat finish would be in, but this separation of the mold from the final glass product is always a semi-hair raising moment, and there's a lot of crap that can go wrong, especially for the novice/beginner like me. It's a good sign. So I think what I need to do is I need to get the top off. I'm not expecting the whole box to pop up out of there, but I need the top to come off, and then I can kind of disassemble the inside box, the form from inside. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole and drive a bolt down in there onto the frame and get the lid to pop off. So see if that works. That's my plan anyways. Wow, that is working. As suspected, this was off to a rough start, and I was not getting much cooperation at all. And in the back of my head, I had this lingering memory of reading and seeing videos about horror stories from other builders who reported having to destroy both the mold and the final product, having to start over from scratch and trash all that material, and more importantly, time. Yeah. Okay. Alright. Now, I just disassemble it from inside. Just like that. Just like that. So it's probably worth noting at this moment that the original thinking when we made these boxes was to use a little glue so the boxes could withstand the constant handling and maybe mild abuse they might receive while working them and getting them ready for glassing. There we go. Woo! Golly. What a pain. Mark, I'm kicking myself for us gluing this. Should not have glued it. That was a mistake. But we learn, don't we? Music, that's a good sound. Woo! There we go. Alright, well, I know it looks really rough. Like, it is rough. And I know it may even look bad, but it isn't bad. It just needs to get cleaned up. And then it'll need some sanding, which I knew. But generally, it isn't that bad. I mean, this is my new freezer, so this is very exciting that it is. I mean, I still have to get the bottom out. But this is it, you guys. This is great. I'm super stoked. Super stoked.
Well, that does it. Thanks for watching this week's episode. Check back in next week for what I hope is the last of the projects and work necessary before we launch FAW back in the water in preparation for our big jump north to Fiji. Cheers, everybody.